So thank you very much, John, for being with us this morning and afternoon for you. I think it was quite interesting to have you with us today to discuss a bit what was happening on your side, given the current situation, obviously worldwide. And my first question to you was, what has your attention today regarding your project and your investment in Tanzania?
Well, what is our attention today is very much the same things that have had our attention now for the last 2 years, 3 years, and that is clarification of the Tanzanian government with respect to inbound investment into the resources sector, and then trying to match that to a financing route that is acceptable to the government and acceptable to financiers. In between those, what we've done over the last number of years is walk the project forward through a feasibility study process, which last year we've just completed our resettlement action plan, or the RAP process, which is now in the process of being tidied up and sent off to the government valuer. But once that process is out of the way, it really comes back to is we really need to come to terms with the government around the financing conditions, and we can take the project into financial closure. So yeah, there's a lot, and has COVID impacted it? It's changed everything and nothing.
Yeah, so I was about to say, what has changed in the way of doing business? Did your business model change with COVID? Did you have to operate differently? The engagement is different. What has been different?
I think what set us apart from a lot of other projects in Africa is our operating model, and we articulated in the operating model very clearly in the feasibility study that we wanted to have a series of processes and controls and standards and operating principles built into the organisation that governed how people did things. Our intention has been and always will be, where possible, to put qualified, trained and professional nationals into roles as quickly as possibly as we can. 2 reasons for that is firstly, it's the right thing to do. The second reason is sustainability of the organisation. Where an organisation relies on a lot of expatriates for whatever reason, you tend to have an intellectual turnover of that organisation at the end of the expatriate contract. So it doesn't help anybody doing that. But really, if you want to build an organisation such as we want to do, that's got a long life mine, it's going to go for 20-something years, we need to train people to go into those roles, and we're going to get those people from Tanzania. So what's changed for us on COVID is it's actually brought that forward. It's forced us very early on now to rely on our national team, and to their credit, they've really stepped up and done a spectacular job. It would have been great to have gone over there and seen the work myself, and there is no substitute for boots on ground, but ultimately the guys on the ground have done a really good job, and we're very, very happy with that. So what it's done is it's brought forward our operating model.
Yeah, I think it's a silver lining of an environment where like people don't have no choice. Like they have to step up and to make it happen, to make sure that you track on time. And I was about to mention, 2020 was anyway an interesting year for Tanzania, because I believe the election was planned in October, if I'm not mistaken. Would that be?
And it's going ahead.
It's going ahead as well. So do you think it's going to change?
Yeah.
Are you not concerned, but like, do you think it's going to change anything in the way you operate right now? Is it going to, delay some of the operation on site, or business as usual?
Look, it's BAU in as much as you can in today's environment. I think what the election will do is the president has come forward with a mandate for reform of the mining sector, and he's implemented that mandate. The challenge now comes back to we've got through the legislation process, and now we've got to make it work. And that's something we're deeply engaged with the government. The government's deeply engaged with us. It's a dialogue. So we're actually turning around and saying, after the round one, the president's first term where he changed legislation, well, let's go into second term with understanding how that legislation works with an operating asset, where it works with a development asset, and get on with the project. Now, you think about where this is at. We're in graphite, which is really moving ahead very well. Thank you very much. But I guess gold's got a lot of attention over the last couple of months, and we're seeing a lot of activity in gold everywhere across Africa. Tanzania's got some of the best gold mines in Africa, but there hasn't really been many new. So, it speaks of the opportunity that is available to Tanzania once we understand how we can make this new legislation work.
Great. So do you mind giving us a bit of an update on your project? Now you mentioned it, like where are you at? Are you tracking on, on where you're going to be, or did COVID delay anything? Where is the project at?
I think in reality, COVID's made it very hard to get on a plane and go over and have a face-to-face meeting. And you have a face-to-face meeting, those little nuances of body language change how things occur and the rate at which they occur. You can do Zoom meetings. We're doing this on Zoom, and that's great, but it gets to a point where, you know what, I really want to see what's going on here. And it prevents that interpersonal connection. So where that interpersonal connection would have helped us a lot would be, around resolution with the government. If I had been able to sit in Dar es Salaam or Dodoma and actually negotiate face to face, we'd be moving much faster than we are now. Also, when we're dealing with, the financing and the offtake, we have a mandate at the moment with POSCO of Korea, who are looking at the project and completing DD. Being able to get on a plane, go to Korea, and Korea being able to get on a plane and go to Tanzania would make things a lot easier than they are now. We have to find some pretty imaginative workarounds to make that process work. So, we're at that point now where we are closing out the project. The study side's finished, RAP's almost finished. Once we can get government POSCO across the line, we're into financing, then we're into construction, which would be brilliant.
Okay, great. I think I hope for you that, we counting in weeks and not in months, but given the situation, we don't know, I think, until next year, if any travel will be, possible. So hopefully, I know that Australia is also on quarantine again, so hopefully you can travel again, and then maybe, to a turn by Zanzibar when you go to Tanzania to at least have a bit of fresh air. But in terms of investing into Tanzania and Africa, if you had to give some tips to any junior mining that wanted to do it, what would you do differently, and what would you advise not to do?
I think the people need to understand the context that is Africa, and then they make their own decisions about what they do and don't do. But Africa, you need to balance risk and reward. Africa is definitely hard work. But the flip side for that hard work is the sort of ore bodies that are available, are the ore bodies that got mined turned last century. In the developed world. So when you're going for those great high-grade ore bodies, you need to recognise that, the reason people haven't mined them before is a lack of infrastructure. And when I talk to infrastructure, legal infrastructure is a classic one. We'll have clear tenement rules, clear rules around what you can and can't do as a mining company. I think the final thing is people need to understand that in today's world, aspirations are universal. And you can't approach this in a colonial way. You need to approach this in a way as you would any other country, and that is you're there to empower and the people you work with, and you want to leave a positive legacy. You don't want to end up with a bunch of lawyers trying to fight to keep your mine open. That's, in that sort of space, life's just not living. You go into
for 20 years project, absolutely.
Yeah, people have got a development agenda, and you need to understand that, and you need to put the effort into to uplift the people you're working with. And now, I don't mean that in any way in a condescending or colonial way, but people have got aspirations.
Yeah.
And developing a mine is a platform on which people can use to get up and achieve some of those aspirations. You need to be very cognizant of that. And the aspirations are held at your local level, they're held at your provincial level, and they're held at the national level. And you need to be across those, because if you're not, you'll be in for a surprise when you least expect it.
Yeah, and I think it's a mindset that you need to adopt to be able to operate in the territories. And I'm happy that you mentioned that actually, despite COVID, you could see some positive development on site. So I think it's really encouraging as well for the rest of the operation, and maybe for, as you said, the empowerment of the local team. Thank you very much, John, for today. I really appreciate it. It was really nice to catch up with you on the project and see how you're doing. And we hope to see you on the other side of the world, maybe in a couple of weeks or months. In the meantime, stay safe, and thank you very much.